Ruesha, relax.
Get back in the kitchen, that's what they've been saying. Cleaning duties.
Straight on, Paddy.
Is my mother, oh I love her. Okay, let's get the show on the road. I'm on the H2O. In all seriousness, I'm on my cleanse. That ruined my career.
At England, I felt when sports science come into it and they started to change the menu at camps, that everybody's watching what everybody's eating, but for me, everybody's different. I feel like there's more to it. I think she's a fantastic player. Sometimes when I look at her, I think she's a little bit small for her build.
I think we're going to get you security when you next go back to
I think the rise of women's football has been the most gratifying and exciting thing I've seen. But I think there are people's stories that deserve a, 20-part drama on Netflix, and this is one of them.
If anyone's out there that wants to do a Netflix thing on my life, this is just a rumour, by the way. It's not factual.
No, you didn't!
Hello there, welcome back to The Kickback. My name's Shebahn, Aherne, joined by my injury-ridden professional footballing twin sister, Ruesha Littlejohn, today. And coming up for you on the show, we'll be joined by the legendary former Lioness and England's all-time most capped player, Fara Williams, MBE, will be here to look at the recently announced Lioness squad and talk about diversity in the women's game. Plus, we'll speak with sports broadcasting legend Clare Balding. She tells us about the game changers she's celebrating for their achievements in the sporting world and her view on Casey Stoney for the Arsenal job and also the Lionesses' chances at the Euros next year. A busy show coming up. Stay tuned for it all. We're filming a bit later today, so cheers. 9 o'clock somewhere. Let's get lashed.
Don't know if you know, I'm actually off it for 2 weeks, so I'm on the H2O.
You're wondering. Interesting person because like you go in little waves. She'll be like, I'm on it for 2 weeks, and then I'm off it for 2 weeks. You must be doing all the good, but
I barely even get through 2 days, and I'm like, I'll just give it that. I think you're a bad influence, but no, I've said that. I'm back running. We're pushing to getting back for minutes on the pitch now, so that's it. Cleanse. It's cleanse time.
Do you notice the difference? Do you physically feel different? Say you've had, I don't know, because you don't drink much. Say you've had a couple of glasses of wine on a Friday night or Thursday night, whatever, and then you're training on Sunday. Would you still feel it in your system? Do you think it affects injuries?
Well, I wouldn't drink on a Friday night, Shebahn, if I was training.
Well, honey,
on Sunday,
we've just heard you've been on a 2-week bender. Round St Albans.
No, do you know what? The older you get, I would say it's that's definitely something I'd be more aware of, more conscious of, because you're dehydrated. Alcohol and tendons don't get on, so that's another thing I need to tell myself that Achilles tendons don't like the rosy wine. So that's it. I just drink a bottle of red now instead.
Hello, I'm Achilles tendons. Nice to meet you. Yeah, red apparently is better for sports people, isn't it? It's
apparently
not
good for your
bad
heart.
For recovery.
It's good for your heart or something like that. And it's good for a good sleep. Something along those lines. That's true. Look it up if you could get a wee link in the bio here, and we'll put that on. Facts about red wine, why it's so good for you. So watch out for that.
I can't get into the reds. I'm still not there yet.
But in all seriousness, I'm on my cleanse.
Right,
people might think I am taking the mick here, which I am, but I'm on the cleanse.
Are you?
What?
Stupid question, but are you told you shouldn't be drinking?
Oh yeah. Do you know what? For me though, I'm I think teams should be allowed to have a blowout now and then. This is my ideal scenario. Away game. You're on the bus. You're away up north and you've got a 6-hour drive down the road. Some teams now are flying now, but I'm not about that because I'm all about the environment, just if you're wondering.
Probably worse than taking the bus, but okay.
But yeah, well, sitting at the back of the bus with the gals, having a carry-on. You're not getting lashed. You're just having a few cans to, de-stress and bond.
And it's the international break.
Just on that note, in the guys' game, honestly, they get to go out all the bloody time. They're out all the time. Do you think they're not in nightclubs to what time? I'm not even talking about that. I just want a few pints or a few glasses of wine. That's all I'm looking for. But in the women's game, it's you're pure scaremongered into you can't look at that alcohol or you're a bad person and you won't make it to the top. I'm snooze and boil. I'm still hanging about here and I'm lashed all the time. I'm not lashed all the time. But no, I think you actually need to be able to have a few drinks here and there, especially with the girls at the team, because it's just a good it's bonding.
Yeah. Speaking of bonding, that's when Fara Williams is going to be on with us in a minute. you guys were similar like that. I think you came from the era where it was acceptable to have a couple of pints or whatever. And it's not the end of the world now. But like, I'd love to see you two like out on a lash and rocking up for a game the next day now. That'd be funny.
The game has changed massively. Like obviously now it's like sports scientists came in, nutritionists have come in, which is obviously to help take the game forward. Totally on board with it. But that ruined my career. Ever since I had to get fit and shed weight, honestly, I just got injured all the time. I didn't have a problem when I was fat Rue up front. Nobody could get round me, banged in the goals, honestly. It was great. Achilles, not a bother.
Yeah, nutrition is important.
Ruined my career, to be honest.
It wouldn't be me. I don't like drinking.
Anyway, back to the football.
Anyway, it feels weird drinking in the workplace. Are we sure this is allowed? Who cares? Please like, please subscribe. Coming up for you, we're now going to hear from Fara Williams, the England all-time captain player. She's going to be with us to discuss the recently announced Lionesses squad. Can they win the Euros next year? That is the question. Fara Williams, MBE. Can I keep calling you that now?
If you want, I don't mind.
MBE.
Sounds all right, doesn't it?
MBE, Farah MBE.
What does MBE? Member of the British Empire?
I think so.
Jesus, imagine me with that.
You wouldn't be invited to the palace, love.
I know, you wouldn't get past the guards at
I
the front.
wouldn't, and do you know what? I'm actually delighted about that. That'd be absolutely atrocious if that was to happen to me. Awkward though, because they'll probably like, she's a superstar, she's such a good person. They'll be like, oh, do you want one? Do you want one? Handing out to everyone these days, aren't they?
They are, aren't they? No, I agree.
Nightmare.
Rather insulting from
I'm
you.
glad I got mine before they were handed out to everyone.
That's it, yeah, that's it. You deserve it since you're like the most all-time cap player for England. So I'll let you have it. Ah, you're okay.
Who's getting close to you? It was Jill.
Is it Lucy? I don't know. Lucy, maybe someone said. Maybe Lucy.
Okay. It's quite crazy, isn't it, that you've got that many caps for your country? You're the all-time.
Do you know what? I should have had more. I'm not going to lie.
Why should you have had more?
I mean, early on in my career, I was, when Hope obviously took the England job, I was a naughty kid. I was a bit like this one. I was just naughty, so Hope tried to manage that through obviously not giving me the reward of actually playing for England. So in the early days when I broke on the scene at 17, I'd played like back-to-back games. And all of a sudden, it's like your behaviour. So you kind of miss a few games. It's like we'll put you on the bench and you won't come on and kind of teach you a lesson. And then I think I didn't get injured throughout my career that much. But then obviously Phil Neville, he's a bit of an ageist in my opinion. I felt he wasn't open to kind of hear my experiences of being there when he took over. For like 19 years before he was there, I was an international player. So I was trying to kind of share those experiences. His first, role in the women's game. And I was trying to share those differences between managing men and managing women. And I don't know if he was a little bit intimidated, didn't like me, or I weren't good enough. So I don't know.
Well, it's definitely not good enough. But that's my thing. I think now there's definitely a thing in women's football. And as soon as you are over 30 years old, you start getting written off. It's like, you're a senior player, your legs have gone, all that. I'm like, come on. Like, in that squad, you would play absolutely all day long. Like this squad, the current England squad, in my opinion, you would be playing every game. True?
I think so. Yeah, no, I think so.
So it's like he's probably come in and felt threatened that you're a senior player. Why does that happen? When people come into power, it's like we have to make
statement.
Yes, it's like a statement. Why is that?
Ask me. I don't know. It's interesting. I felt that a little bit. I felt like when he did, and look, Kim was fantastic, and she was a young player kind of challenging for that role. We had Jade Moore there at the time. There was a few of us in that position, and I always felt like, why can't you play the both of us alongside each other and kind of give more players in front that little bit of freedom? At the time, we had fullbacks that were more attack-minded than defence-minded. So it would have secured a kind of box in front of the back two and two holders, but he wasn't never prepared to kind of play that formation.
How old are you now, Farah? I know we shouldn't ask.
40.
You're 40 now? Like, look at Modric.
I know, unbelievable, yeah.
39, officially the oldest man's player playing football. I mean, age is a number, especially if you can still play like that. Like, it doesn't disappear overnight, does it?
No, and you know what? I think we had the advantage of that we weren't full-time, so we wasn't putting the mileage through the legs really early in our career. The young ones that have turned professional now at 16, 17, how long are they going to be able to play? Are they going to play till I did at 37, 38? I don't know, because, as I said, training twice a week and having your day job.
That's a real interesting one, because I think too there's like this thing in the women's game, not every club, but there's some clubs out there are like international teams, and they think everyone has to be on the pitch the same amount, doing the exact same stuff. And I'm like, no, manage your players differently. So if you've got a senior player, surely they don't need to be on the training pitch as much. But it's like you almost get punished, because again, you're an older player, but I'm like, you can still, if you can last the 90 minutes, 90 plus minutes, whatever it is, if it's 60 minutes, brilliant. why should you be forced to be on that pitch? If you're going to be in good condition to play at the weekend, what's the problem?
Do you mean training? Why should you be forced to do the same training as an 18-year-old?
I get in the men's game, they've got more staff and stuff, so it's maybe a bit easier to accommodate. But in the women's game, I'm like, it's just a no-brainer, but yet so many people are against it. I don't understand it.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's for the older players. Sometimes I feel like the older players want to prove a point that they can keep doing it. As in, like, oh, you know, the youngsters aren't taking my place. I need to prove that I don't need that extra rest day. But actually, in doing that, probably gives you that little bit more longevity with it. But yeah, maybe an ego thing, a pride thing with us older players. But certainly management, I think throughout the women's game, in terms of there's so many different things that need to change. You know, we could talk about diet and nutrition. Does everybody have to be under a certain body fat in order to perform? In my opinion, no. Do you have to, it depends on positions. Do you have to be able to run X amount? And it does need to be managed a lot better. And then, yeah.
The body fat is an interesting one because everybody's a different shape, different size. Like, you think back to your times being younger at England, what you were eating was such a big thing. You know, like for you, you know, everything that all these players were comparing each other and whatever like that. That's quite difficult at that age, having to manage that.
It was horrible. I mean, I like food. I'm not hiding the fact that I enjoy eating food. And you train every day, you train to such a high intensity. At England, I felt when sports science come into it and they started to change the menu at camps, that everybody's watching what everybody's eating. And, you know, when they're putting up your body fat, you know, you start comparing your body fat to the next person. But for me, everybody's different. Your body shapes, as you mentioned, are different. And one person's body type to another's, you know, in terms of what will get best performance isn't the same. I always felt when I was a little bit heavier, I actually felt like I was better. I didn't look better, but I actually felt better in terms of having an impact later in games. When I was going through the stage of trying to keep my body fat low, trying to look good in my kit or on TV, whatever you want to call it, or for the tick box of your body fat percentage, I actually felt like you get to 60 minutes, I'm like, I'm flagging. And, you know, it was always trying to kind of keep that balance of what's right and what's not right.
I agree with that. I know I'm in a place now where I'm comfortable, so I know I'm never going to have a six-pack. I don't want a six-pack. I like the finer things in life. But I'm like, as long as I can run, like I can still run. Fitness testing, like for a midfielder, I'm up there, I can run. I've got an engine, I can run, so whatever. I'm never going to look good in a bikini. I'm okay with that.
Me too.
But people are...
I wear a tracksuit on the beach.
But I think in the women's game, people, it's an image in the changing room. My changing room's banter. My changing room's great because we are all the same. We've got Mitchie, we've got G, and we are, honestly, we do not look like athletes. But I'd say they're the best players in the team, so I'm like, what does it matter? They perform in the weekend, so... But it's definitely an image thing now.
100%. And it should be a performance-based thing, not an image. I hate that.
Yeah, especially younger ones coming through now, and social media is a big part of it. Like, they have to look a certain way and then they have to hit targets and body fat percentage.
I'm going to start editing.
Have you noticed I've never put a bikini picture on my Instagram?
That's because it's on your OnlyFans. No.
How much are you now?
It's an album like that.
Don't worry, Farah. Don't worry, there's no secrets here. Let's look ahead, shall we, to the international break. Obviously, Ruesha's with us because she's not got a six-pack and her Achilles.
Because she's trying to lose all that weight and now she's injured.
Look at him sat here now, drinking water. Oh.
England will be playing Germany in the game, and then it's South Africa, the game after that. I want to talk about the up-front situation now. Ruesha had mentioned this last week. The Arsenal fans are coming at her hard and fast because
they come at her? These Arsenal social media fans, they are the worst for it. I'm sorry, but no matter what you say about Arsenal, they are on you. They're like literally, but go and tell me because they're going to get on me now for saying
that. That's like you've flung yourself under the bus.
So Ruesha was speaking about Bethany being a more natural finisher than Alessia Russo. Now, Russo, fair player, brilliant player. She just won England's Player of the Year there. 6 goals she got last season. She's kind of off it at the minute. Now, no discredit to how hard that woman works. But what's your opinion on Russo at the minute?
I feel like there's more to it. I think she's a fantastic player. I think in and out of possession, I think she's really key. I don't know if she's lacking confidence. I don't know. Sometimes when I look at her, I think she's a little bit small for her build. In terms of, we talk about diet, you know, we're talking about body fat and wanting to be a body type. I actually think she looks too small.
Really?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think she looks too small for what her attributes are and what she needs to perform. And then it's that inconsistency of run of games and getting those connections in the final third. You know, for strikers, they like to know what they're playing with. And I feel there's always changes without kind of... I think it's hard for strikers. They want to get on a run of games, don't they, to score goals. And then when your manager changes you for tactical reasons, you kind of feel like, I'm just getting on a run, I've got a goal. But something's lacking there. I don't know if it's something away from football. It's really difficult to talk about somebody because I rate her really highly. I think her work rate, I think, you know, what she brings is tremendous. But she's definitely not on it at the minute. And I can't put a finger on why.
Do you think Aggie Beaver-Jones will maybe get a run out in this campaign, perhaps over Russo? Or again, is it one of those things to... Because for England, Russo she's such a big player and she does find the back of the net for England, doesn't she? You're right with Arsenal. It's been different. She's been moved around a fair bit. She's been on the bench in some games. And then obviously the manager's stepped away from his job. So obviously there is stuff going on there at club level that maybe actually the run out at international level will be good for her.
And I think she knows where she stands at international. I think she kind of, especially with Rach Daly hanging her international boots up, I think she kind of made that role her own, and there wasn't really anybody that is kind of challenging her alongside that. So you feel confident in that environment. I think you could see a difference in confidence when she goes with England to when she's at Arsenal. When you play for, I mean, I went there myself. You've got huge pressure. She's come with, you know, whether people talk about her salary, whether the price tag they wanted to get her for before she come on a free. There was everything that went with that. And there's pressure to go to Arsenal and perform. And not just her, but the whole squad are underperforming. Fingers always seem to be getting point in different directions. And no ownership is ever taken at that club, I feel. And yeah, they're definitely a club that should be doing far better than what they are. As I said, the owners had to step away. And I think players, in my opinion, should have took a little bit more responsibility. And I think fans need to accept that. You know, you've got a whole squad of internationals. It can't just be your manager that puts a team out there that creates 20+ opportunities every game. The highest creators in the WSL last season and coming into this season. But you don't score and win games. You know, at some point, players have to take a look, right?
I think we're going to get you security when you next go back to That's what I'm thinking. So...
That's what happens when you have your wine.
I know, I've only had a sip as well. I'll have some more,
Let's stick with the England squad just now, shall we? Because Fran Kirby, looking good at the minute. Fair play, Brighton securing a player like Fran Kirby. Do you see her getting many minutes for this break?
I like Fran, I really do. I feel like she's building back to the kind of player that we know. Is Serena going to pick her based off the 4 WSL games? Is she going to start ahead of the likes of Stanway and Ella Toone, or even Grace Clinton, who again has gone back to United and is on fire? So I think that area is quite difficult. I think she would favour Stanway and Clinton at the minute, with obviously Kira just behind. So I think it's a difficult one. She's now coming up against competition. As we said, as you get older, kind of your minutes become more limited. You still have a place within the squad and an impact, but whether that's from the start or off the bench, I would imagine off the bench in this game.
I think that Fran Kirby's had her illnesses and injuries, so it's nice to see her actually back playing consistent football, and hopefully, touch wood, she can stay fit. But she's got bags of experience, so I think that's something she's always going to have that for England. Obviously, there's Grace Clinton, who's absolutely on form right now, so I think Serena will favour the maybe younger, in-form player, but I think Fran Kirby's experience, she knows when she gets a chance, she'll probably take it, or you'd like to hope she can take it, but that's fine, the England squad, there's so much quality in it right now, so I hope they hit a wee run of bad form soon.
Well, let's get on to that, shall we? Because they've lost some big personalities. We've touched on this before with, say, Jill Scott, who, you know, you guys know very well what a leader, what a personality, a good crack that she is out the dressing room. Ellen White, Rachel Daly, there are more. How much has that affected the team, and who now need to be those leaders, those characters to step up for England to see it through at the Euros next year?
Yeah, it's different. I think if you look at the leaders, probably you're looking at Lucy Bronze, Mary Earps and Millie Bright, for example, in terms of that experience within the squad. They have lost big characters, and I guess those that demand high standards and kind of push you through. I think the young one will learn that, the younger players will learn that with more experience, more tournaments. I know they obviously won the Euros very young, some of those players, but it doesn't just turn you into a leader overnight because you've got a European Championship or you've won the Euros. So I think it's important that, as I mentioned, the likes of those 3 players, Lucy, Millie Bright and Mary Earps in particular, really kind of drive those standards through the team and keep pushing them on, because they're going to need it. They're going to need to get better if they are to go and win the Euros next summer.
Yeah. Question. With that, with the likes of players that they've got right now in that squad, I know there's a few younger players coming through. Do you think everyone's on the same page? Do you think off the back of winning the Euros, is there egos within the squad? Is that going to be a challenge for Serena? Or do you think, no, it's a happy camp and everyone's, they're ready for like this challenge of like retaining the champions, like being the champions of Europe again. Is that right? Champions of Europe, yeah.
Yeah. Champions of Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, do you think that's good? They've got that under control. It's a nice environment. Or is there egos? What do you think?
I think from what you see on socials, you can kind of only go off that. And when you speak to them, they actually enjoy that environment. So they enjoy being an international player and being in that environment. I'm sure there's egos within the team. I mean, look, they've won the Euros. They'll be having all kinds of different deals outside of that. There'll be big players in their own club. So there'll be definitely egos there. It's how it's managed within the group. As I said, I think the likes of Lucy and Mary and Millie will kind of keep that intact a little bit. They've got a great chance. Do I think they're going to go and win it? I can't sit here and put my money or my mortgage on them going they're going to go and win. They've got a great chance, along with, probably 3 other nations. So I don't know. I think it's difficult. I think the Euros, I think it's always been the hardest. I think it's a lot harder than the World Cup in terms of the opposition you face. And I think other European teams are catching them.
I mean, I've still not made up with Germany, to be honest with you. I'm still furious at them. Stop getting injured before the final was like somebody sticking a dagger in my heart. I knew that moment. I was like, do you know what?
I was dancing around Wembley at that moment.
Yeah, I've seen the videos of you, honestly. I blocked you on Instagram for a while. I was like... no, but I think, touching on that, what the Lionesses has done, it was amazing. And it has changed. It's changed the game. I know it'd be great for the game here.
If they do that back to back,
I think that's too much.
Euros,
I think slow down. I know you've got your England top underneath that little top you're wearing, but let's just slow down.
I'm just pro football, honey.
Yeah. I suppose my niece and nephew are English now, do you know that?
Love that.
So they could represent England one day.
Love that.
Shocking.
Love it. I know. Why is it anti-English? Why are they like this?
Because you're all arrogant. You don't know your...
No, you didn't.
I don't want to turn this into a politics show.
Me?
But yeah.
Everyone else, not me.
England is a nation. Don't know their history. Don't know it. Don't take any accountability. Don't teach it in schools. That's why people don't know. You don't know shit. Anyway, moving on back to the football.
Right, okay. She's due
Give her a glass.
She's
something
on
like
one.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm glad you brought it up though, because in other big England news, the Football Association came under a little bit of fire for some of their decisions, especially with the appointment of foreign manager Thomas Tuchel for England. But Lioness Georgia Stanway has defended the decision. She believes he can be a positive influence on English football and the women's game after working with the German coach at Bayern Munich.
I think it's great. I've obviously got a Norwegian manager at Bayern as well, and it's just whoever's best for the job, whoever the people feel like is suitable for the players. I actually had a few experiences with Tuchel at Bayern, and he was really invested and really interested in the women's game. He wanted to get to know the players, both him and Barry. I've spoken with them a few times, and they were just really invested, really nice people. Coming to a few games, seen them at a few events, and they always had time for us. So far I can only say good things in terms of personality that I've met.
She's good. Georgia Stanway there speaks very well. I just got to go. Yes, you are live on air.
Sorry about that.
But she makes a point, and also like Serena Wiegman is Dutch. No one cared then. Is it what the press do? Is it like a feeding into clickbaits and all that kind of stuff that he should be English? Or do you care?
I don't care. I don't care one single bit. I mean, he's a fantastic manager, first of all. I think we have to look at that. You're looking to see... We've seen how far Gareth Southgate's got us, a couple of finals, semis or whatever. And he actually couldn't, like the England managers in the women's game prior to that, couldn't elevate us to that next level we needed to get to win silverware. I think the contract he's been given, 18-month contract, I think that tells you he's been employed for one thing and one thing only, and that's to win the World Cup. So I think it's a statement in terms of the actual contract he's been given. I mean, we've seen his success at club level. Now the question is, can he transfer it to international? They're two different ways of managing. But we've also seen, as you mentioned, Serena Wiegman taking the Lionesses, only being in the job 6 months and winning a Euros with them. So he's got the pick of the bunch in terms of the best English players now to pick. And I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he's got personality, which I like. I think he's got that little bit of fear factor about him. I love him. I'm a Chelsea fan, and I absolutely adored him when he was there. And I thought he was a great coach. But he's got that character. He's got that personality that he can be in front of the press and handle himself really well. And I really like that. But I also think he does have that little bit of fear factor for the players in the squad, which they also need as well.
I feel a little bit of truth justice coming on this subject, Ruesha. with Thomas Tuchel being manager.
No truth just on this, it's just facts. If I have to listen to England and England fans or English media talking about 66 again, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know what I'll do.
You want to talk about 2025, 2026, sorry.
See, honestly, I'm like, but I'm intrigued to see will the fans all start turning. Imagine he loses a game here. Imagine they don't go and win the tournament. Everyone turning on. I'll just be sitting there watching it. Everyone going Tonto at Wembley. Poor Thomas. Honestly. England fans are a nightmare.
Aren't they? No, I agree. I actually agree with that. I do. I think, you know, as a nation, I find England fans really difficult. What do they want? You know, sometimes it's like, yeah.
I look at the team and the team...
It's frustrating.
What a team. England could have 3 starting 11s. They've got so many quality players. It's packed. It's absolutely rammers, that squad. Get behind the nation. Imagine 100%. Watching that tournament there, I was like, oh my God, you can feel the hatred and the anger within the fans. I'm thinking, you can't even kick a football, yet you're so opinionated on this. Like, just get behind the boys and help them. I bet if you've got fans that got behind them, they probably win a tournament.
Yeah. And media. I think
the media
they don't help. Media don't help. Fans don't. And the players talk themselves, you know, past and present, about the weight of the shirt, and it shouldn't be weighed down. It's a privilege to go and represent your country, and everybody should support that, and we don't. And that's what frustrates me about England. I think no matter who got the job, there would have been problems with it. He ain't good enough, he is. I mean, when we're looking at, they talk about the FA in terms of their coach system and not bringing England managers through. Fast track, we talk about Gerrard and Rooney and Lampard, and they're fantastic young managers, but you need experiences, you need to fail, you need to learn and develop, which is what they're doing at different clubs, before you're ready for, you know, the national team. They've not done enough yet to be warranted the opportunity to go and, you know, manage an England team that has progressed since then. Since Southgate took over, when he was given the opportunity, when he came out of the 23s, they've actually progressed massively to just throw in one of those lads and go, here, I'll take this England team to the next level without any experience or enough experience of winning and managing, you know, high-profile players and characters. I'm not sure they're there yet.
We'll keep track of it, like you say. I think him being German maybe takes the pressure off if things don't start so easy for him, because if you are English, oh my God, I mean, Gareth Southgate, God love him. You watch him sometimes in these interviews and I think he could come across like a shell of a person sometimes. He's probably been so worn down by this job, the criticism, the expectations, the treatment, the questions. Oh, give him a break, you know. 100%. Back your manager, no matter where they're from, and you're joking with the whole England stuff. There's an element of joke.
Am I joking?
There's an element of joke when you say a story for another time. But yeah, just back people and be. I hate to sound like a snowflake here, but be a bit kinder. For the love of God, God forbid anything happened. God forbid anything happened. You know, how would you live with yourself with the way people criticise and treat people like that? Anyway, I wanted to speak to you, Farah, about it being Black History Month. And it's been celebrated across October, and it's quite an interesting conversation to have, because why should it just be 1 month where it's celebrated, or 1 month where Black people are focused on or given a month to celebrate being Black? That should never have had to happen in the first place. But the Lionesses squad, say the Arsenal women's squad, it's quite a white place at the minute. How are they tackling that, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the FA trying to go into different areas and employ different coaches and kind of go into those inner city London estates to try and get that diverse culture in terms of personnel. It's difficult. It's difficult to watch. I think when I grew up, and certainly our England team was very diverse. I mean, most of our players were you know, southern-based in terms of London. More of them than not. And as I say, in terms of opportunity, I think the problem is that the game's changed massively. Financially, it's changed, and the cost for kids to get involved. You no longer have youth clubs, you know, mini tournaments, you know, mini leagues that are free access. You know, to play for a grassroots team, you're looking at £400 or £500 a year for a kid to go and play for a grassroots team, right?
Really?
So in terms of you are coming from if I look back to when I played, if my mum had to pay that every year for the 4 of us, it's impossible. It's not affordable. So whereas we played for free, as I said, whether that be tournaments, whether you go to youth club and they take you to these tournaments, it was more accessible for underprivileged families to take part in football. Now it's become something that to pay for a one-to-one, you're looking at £50+ an hour to get a one-to-one session. You're looking at playing at goals. If you want to go and rent out a five-a-side pitch for an hour, you're looking at an hour. So 10 kids playing on it is £10 each. Now, Who's got money to play for 1 hour for their kid to play every single night? It's become costly. So you're missing the inner city kind of kids that are, you know, in terms of diversity, you will know that on most of these estates in London are very diverse. So you're missing out on that. I think the coaching system, there's no diversity within that. I think if you look even higher than that in terms of the board and the direct, there's no diversity in that. In terms of it filtering all the way down, there's probably not those conversations happening.
It's a real problem.
And so it is a problem, and it is sad to see. I mean, Arsenal, you look at Arsenal, and never would you have thought that they haven't got one player that are representing other nations, as in other teams of nations of colour. Yes, they have foreign players in there, but they don't have, you know, you don't have African, Jamaican, you don't have these type of nationalities within there. You don't have anyone of a different skin colour. You saw the team that come out, the team photo that come out, and the disappointment with that. It's baffling to see, especially where they're based.
It's a financial, that's it, where, especially like Arsenal, for example, where they're based, it's like you have to have a car probably to get there.
Yeah.
Or you're getting a train and then you're trying to get a taxi, or like it's a nightmare to get to. So we look at the men's game, they want these young players so they can go into these like different areas and go, right, we can get you a car, we'll get you a car and we'll take you to training. It doesn't happen in the women's game. So if you're not from money, it's very hard. And I think a lot of the teams now, there's like, obviously if your parents do well, that's great, you're wealthy. A lot of people go to like private schools now. So if you're not one of them either, it's like you might fall behind, and like you don't have money. It's not so you can go to a public pitch now because the goals are probably taken down.
Yeah, there's no goals on public parks.
Yeah.
There's not many.
How did that happen? I mean, you go down to your local park now, there's no goals.
It's crazy.
How does that happen? But I mean, with the Lionesses, you know, honestly, I think I were genuinely looking at going, is it Lauren James is one of the only
Jess Carter maybe.
Jess Carter, of course.
Is Jess Naz in the squad now?
She is in the squad.
So we're starting to,
So are we starting to see diversity?
I think there's more. I think now there's more in our youth setups. I think I don't know exactly what the FA had done in terms of their kind of scouting and how they're looking now, but I think the younger age groups are a little bit more diverse now.
Vivian Aliyah and Michelle Adjumang from Arsenal, both young, promising players. You know, you look at your team when you were at Arsenal, it was so diverse. And the fact that we've come away from that when we should be focusing on diversity and making sure that everyone has an opportunity. And then you want young girls now to look and go, I can be a Lioness, I can be a professional footballer. Oh, but these players all look mostly white. Can I do that? You know, all of that is such an important process to get right.
It's true. And you know what? It's the grassroots. I always say, you know, when we get prize money, and we want to grow our game, right? And we always keep talking about inspiring the next generation. Now, you just mentioned it there. Boys' academies, they will go into London, inner city. They will go into all of these suburban that they need, and they're going to find that little gem. And they will transport them to the training, which you look now, I don't think there's any team in the WSL in terms of their academies that are in London. Right. So they're all outside. Chelsea, when I played for Chelsea as a kid, was in London. It was like Morden we used to go. Right. So it's in London. Now they're out in Cobham, so they're out in Surrey. But they don't invest money in there for those kids that aren't able, that parents can't get them to the training. I mean, we had one kid at Reading, a young girl, and she would be late. But it's her and her mum getting on a train from London to get out to Reading, and she'd be turning up. But we also don't make the environment comfortable for kids that are from underprivileged families, because you turn up, and those that are from a bit more privileged families that are turning up, and there's BMWs or there's Audis or there's, do you know what I mean, all these posh cars or Porsche, you know, and these kids are like, this isn't an environment for me, because they've never seen it. Wow. So it's also difficult that, as you say, most of the clubs now are from kids that are from that more privileged kind of background.
It's a good discussion to have, and hopefully we will see change on that very soon. In other news, the legendary sports broadcaster Clare Balding has chosen a number of game changers in the world of sport to honour and to be recognised as part of the National Lottery's 30th birthday celebrations. It's a really nice cause. I got to chat to Clare earlier today about the game changers she's focusing on and honouring, as well as her thoughts on Casey Stoney for Arsenal manager and who she thinks will win the league. Here you go. Pleased to say, joining us on the Kickback today, we have legendary broadcaster Clare Balding. Hello, Clare. Very good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too.
Thank you very much for coming on. This is all for a brilliant occasion, a brilliant celebration, celebrating game changers who have really paved the way and trailed a bit of a blaze in their fields and in their sports. That's quite an incredible thing that we're seeing these people being celebrated.
Yeah, it's all part of the anniversary celebrations of the National Lottery, and you think what an impact funding, like 30 million a week from the National Lottery, has had on UK sport. It's been something that has had an immensely beneficial impact on women's sport in particular. So, and funnily enough, they've decided to celebrate 7 game changers across different sports, and one of them is Baroness Sue Campbell, who, you know, as we all know, was instrumental in the growth of the WSL in particular, but grassroots football for girls and ensuring that girls in schools had equal access. And she tells the most amazing story that after the Lionesses won the European Championships, they were on the bus the next day going to Trafalgar Square. And Leah Williamson, who was captain, and Lotta Woburn-Moy came down to the front and said to Sue, look, we need to have a word with you. Can you just come back and talk to the girls? We're having this discussion. Now, you would think that in the immediate aftermath of the greatest triumph, the biggest, highest profile thing that you've ever achieved in women's football, some people might be inclined to think, oh, how can I get a better deal? How can I get more sponsorship? How can I get myself something that will change my life? But instead, those women were saying, we've written a letter, we want you to deliver it to the Prime Minister, and we want you to ensure that girls in schools, primary schools in particular, are given equal access to football. That's the impact we want to make. I mean, that is, you know, in the moment of your sort of biggest, you know, who thinks that generously and brilliantly about what can we do right now, because we've got the stage. What are we going to say? They're giving us the microphone. How do we change things forever? And I think that's phenomenal. And then Sue Campbell made sure it happened. So it's a really great way, and there are some fabulous women in this list that I think are, you know, in lots of different ways making an impact.
Yeah, I mean, very impressive people. And that's the thing, Claire, you'll have seen it all over your career. There are people who talk, but then there are people who do.
Exactly, yeah.
The doers, they get it done. And that's what I love about Baroness Sue Campbell. I mean, Ruesha, who works on the show with me, she's a professional footballer. 34, she's my sister, so I've watched it grassroots. I've watched her play with the boys. And those players don't really fault their past. They look and go, it was part of our growth. It's cool, we don't knock it now. But these players now are getting what they deserve. And women's sport is getting what it deserves too. I can only imagine some of the things you've seen over your career, but what in particular has blown you away or made you go, I mean, I watched you all over the Olympics. I'll get to my question in a second. And you get to just watch the most magical moments and celebrate the biggest achievements in sport. But what really has blown you away in your time?
Well, I think, honestly, I think the rise of women's football has been the most gratifying and exciting thing I've seen. Because I did a programme years ago. I did a programme about the history of British sport. As part of that, it was a radio programme, 40-part series. As part of that, I started to understand a bit more about why women's football was banned by the FA for 50 years. And the impact that has had on successive generations of women whose parents did not feel that football was a thing that girls should do because the FA had banned it, because the establishment had said no. And there was no career path in it, there was no money in it, there was no respect in it, all those things that really matter. So to see it now elevated to the position it is, funded the way it is, and, you know, Barclays has been a big contributor to that, but the grassroots expansion. So a lot of the players that, you know, have been the stars for England over the last 10, 12 years, so Ellen White, Fara Williams, they started playing in mixed teams, or indeed some of them pretended to be boys to make sure that they could get on the pitch.
Yeah.
So to see it now being, you know, properly organised as well as properly funded, that girls can technically learn the right way as well, and have competitive mini leagues and have teams that have got more than just 2 of them in it, you know. It's really great. And I think in terms of major events, London 2012 was like off the scale. But Paris this summer was really close to that. You know, I really loved it, and it's been great coming back and understanding how many people enjoyed that, how many people watched different bits of it, but suddenly got into climbing or archery or shooting, you know, because it was on and it was exciting. And yeah, so I think that power of sport to bring people together is huge, and I love being, you know, witness to that.
Listen, you love your rugby, you love your golf. I was seeing that you're out on the golf course after finishing up after the Olympics, and you want to continue seeing that rise of women's sport. And that's what this show is about. We've got Fara Williams with us in the studio today. And, you know, she was honoured last week at the Legends of Football Awards with Nordorf Robbins and in the room with Wayne Rooney. It's all becoming quite equal and cool. And
well, that, you know, that is hugely important. And I think yes, you've got to get grassroots right, okay? You've got to get the progress through correct. You've got to improve sports science around women's bodies. You've got to improve the production of football boots that are specific to women and girls, and football shirts, let's be honest, and shorts and all of that. But there is also the starry side of it that women traditionally haven't been given the sparkle, and you need that. That's really important, because when you're a girl in school deciding, what am I going to do with my life? And you see all the men being, you know, getting the star treatment. You're like, well, that's fine for them, but it doesn't happen to us. Well, it does now. Even so, I was with Ellen White at an event just a few weeks back, and she was talking about playing in Soccer Aid. Yeah. Women have only played in Soccer Aid for the last few years. And I think that's really important. It's a stage, it's a big event, it's live on ITV, it's a huge fundraiser. And, you know, they get a chance to show their skills and show that you can have a really effective mixed team. And I think that's terrific. But I love that Farah's got, you know, is now starting to get her. I mean, the story is amazing. And I know there's sort of work, but in terms of, I personally think it should be a drama. I think every you know, she's lived it, but I think there are people's stories that deserve a, you know, 20-part drama on Netflix, and this is one of them. I think there's a lot there that has an effect on people's choices, but also on what parents you know, let their kids or want their kids to do.
I love sitting down now, like it's Sunday evening game, boom, sometimes the Friday night game, and it's there. You can watch it, you can get commentary on talkSPORT. It's just everywhere. And I just, that is my upbringing. That's what I'm used to, was watching girls in football. Now I get to watch the women on the telly. That's happening, and it's brilliant.
And also to hear female pundits giving a very sensible and well-informed and well-researched view on matches, any matches. I think that is you know, that's huge. And also to have female coaches who are, you know, I mean, I know Emma Hayes has gone to America now, but A, she's a brilliant pundit, and B, she is recognised for her coaching skills, and I think that's massively important. And I'm sort of, Farah might have a view on this, and you must ask about. I'm a massive fan of Casey Stoney, and I would love to see, and it's interesting right now what may or may not happen. I'd love to see her back over here coaching her, really.
I mean, she's proven to be able to do it in the WSL. Do you see that one happening? I mean, the longer time's go on, Claire, I think, why are we not?
Why not? Why not Arsenal? Do we know what's happening at Arsenal yet?
No, I mean, that's
the obvious one, isn't it?
It is the obvious one. She's there at the Emirates with her family, you know, on that day, beaten by Chelsea. You know, she's such a proven person, and also she's a legend of Arsenal women. So I'm thinking, it points straight to her, but are they now looking outside the box? This is something that Farah had mentioned in the past before. We're now seeing so many men come in and taking the jobs in the WSL because there's more money there too, Claire. It's becoming a really attractive role, and almost then not seen as good enough for the people who have already been there and shaped the WSL. But for me, Casey Stoney all day. Nick Cushing, I think, is getting a mention too.
Say again?
Nick Cushing.
Okay.
It's getting a mention too, but Casey Stoney all day. I mean, she'd be the one.
I just really love to see that, and I think she'd have such a positive impact. But I think as well, for it would reward Arsenal's decision making to give them, you know, 8 games? I think it's 8 games at the Emirates, and obviously Champions League is going to be really important. And if they make knockout stages, that will be huge. I think that would be a really big appointment. I'm surprised, and maybe on talkSPORT this is a big topic of conversation, but I'm surprised there isn't more discussion around. I mean, you know, we are talking about one of the prime jobs in football.
It's an incredible job. It's a focal point for sure. Who do you think wins the league, Claire? Who's your team? Are you an Arsenal fan?
Well, I love going to I knew a lot of the Chelsea players, and I used to watch Chelsea a lot. And when I presented, I used to do the WSL for BT Sport, and I was so impressed with that Chelsea side, and I just really loved watching them play. So in that sense, I think I was a Chelsea fan, but in that classic way of sit on the fence. I want to see Arsenal doing well again. I think they have players who have an ability to transmit more broadly. So I just think they have a really interesting ethos, and I think there are players there that are, I think, redefining what kids look at and see as success.
They are quite a side, I have to say. Do you think they can win the league this time if it is Casey Stoney who comes into Arsenal?
If Casey Stoney comes back and manages them, anything is possible.
Ooh. Oh, okay, perfect. And what about the Lionesses? I mean, going into this international break, they won the Euros, they get to a World Cup final. Can they go on and be back-to-back European champions next year in Switzerland?
I think it is really tough. It's really hard to do, but absolutely, if the key players stay fit, and that, as we know, is a challenge. If the key players stay fit, I think we have the setup. We certainly have the manager in place. And we have the players that could do it, and I think I get so excited by their capability to play in different ways. I think they can play entirely different matches, and it depends what's put in place and how flexible they can be to possibly change tactics if they need to.
Claire, listen, I have to let you go, but thank you for taking your time to speak to us about all this today and for sharing your thoughts on women's sport and women's football. I'm your biggest fan, so thank you for chatting to me and for coming on the show. Clare Balding there, the legendary broadcaster. I love Clare Balding. I think when I'm older, I want to be just like her. She's got the dream job. She's seen it all, Farah. Probably a bit like you. She's seen everything. And you get a lot of credit there in that chat with Claire. She loves you. She talks about your life, having come from a certain environment and making it and being a doer and getting stuff done. And you need a Netflix series, apparently.
That would be all right, wouldn't it?
But apparently,
a little bit of cash.
I have to be you in it. I'm the actress.
I think you might play it all right.
I do all right.
You know what? Before we even move on to that, I mean, Clare Balding, in terms of what she's done for women's broadcasting, presenting, throughout her career, unbelievable. Somebody that, for me, in terms of us, certainly me coming into media now, in terms of really trying to mentor, there should be a role, I'd love to be mentored or have those conversations with her in terms of really trying to help and guide me into the kind of this industry. Yeah. Because as you say, she's been there and done it and has worn everything. Do you know what I mean? She knows everything. Fantastic broadcaster. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's out there that wants to do a Netflix thing on my life,
okay.
No, I'm joking.
Do you think I'll get cast for the times I used to paint your nails?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we could get a feature in that. We were a wee what's that? Just a wee segment. Are you sitting there getting your nails painted by her? You walking around going, what is that?
The nail bar with Farah?
Going straight to the other nail bar across the road, the proper one, getting it fixed.
Mind you, I should have painted them for the show. Did you paint them?
I know,
we all got to start somewhere. Also, her thoughts on Casey Stoney at Arsenal. She's like, why is it not done? Very clear about that. It's weirdly gone quiet. Now, that makes me think a Casey Stoney initial link has gone cold for some reason, and they're sussing out someone else. What's your thoughts?
Do you know what? When it happened, that Casey Stoney was the first name that come to mind in terms of what she did at Arsenal, listen to me, Man United and San Diego, right? So I was like... She's
an Arsenal legend.
And she's played at the club, so she's played there into a case, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense. She's unbelievable in terms of her development in coaching. She's gone away and kind of learnt her trade a little bit. It's a perfect fit. She knows the club. But as you mentioned, it's gone so quiet, and it's kind of like Casey's name hasn't been mentioned from anybody. I'm starting to think, is there somebody else? I mean, I heard a name the other day, Mark Parsons, is that his name? The one who was at the Netherlands in the Euros. Was it in the Euros? He did the Netherlands, didn't he?
Yep.
His name's flown about. Someone mentioned that he was, this is just a rumour, by the way. It's not factual. So when it comes out, this isn't a fact. This is a little... He was waiting for the Man United in the hope that maybe Skinner might have got the sack in the summer. That didn't happen. So maybe he was waiting for another big job.
Do you think Casey could come in and turn things around and Arsenal could still win the league or win the Champions League this season?
No, it's too late. They ain't winning the Champions League and they ain't winning the league. I don't know what you've been drinking out of that wine glass, but that's not happening.
Not even with a manager.
I think she'll steady the ship, though. You know what I think? I think she's got a definite style of play, hasn't she? In terms of, you know, we talk often about, you know, looking at identities of team. That's something that I know Casey has got. I think in terms of trying to get this group back together, I don't even know if the group is disjointed. I don't really know what it is. There's something that's never been right there in recent years of Arsenal, and I wouldn't just put it down to the manager. As I mentioned, I think player responsibility, maybe even people that are there that they even higher up that maybe,
I feel like Casey would go in with like the no-nonsense attitude. I think she also knows some of the players, so she'll have a relationship with them anyway where she's probably approachable. And I think she's experienced and she knows the game. We've seen that. Like, she's worked hard, she's sort of earned the right to be a respected manager and people talking about her, linking her to this job. I think she's a good fit for the team, but I just think Arsenal are miles off it right now. Not miles off it, but I think with the points they've dropped already, I don't think Chelsea or Man City are slipping up. I mean, you never know, it could go right to the end of the season, but I think get her in and she would steady the ship. You're right. I don't think Mark Parsons is the guy to come in and do it. I've not worked with him myself, but yeah, what I've heard, I just don't think he would be the fit. But what are Arsenal taking their time with? Is it because it's international break? Are they wanting to drag it out? Are they figuring out stuff behind the scenes? I don't know.
Oh, typical timing. We've just got off the train from filming the episode with Farah, live from the Esso Garage. Esso Garage, Asda Express, everyone. Got my bread and milk. Got your milk for the morning, but it's been reported that Arsenal have made Nick Cushion now their #1 target to replace Jonas Eidevall. He has been mentioned for a while. Thoughts on this, Ruesha? Is he your go-to? What about Casey Stoney?
Well, I would have liked to see Casey Stoney appointed to Arsenal manager, but it's looking more likely that it could be Nick Cushion. But he has won the WSL before with Man City many years ago.
2017.
He's been over in New York working with MLS side. He's worked under the likes of Ronnie Dylas, so he's obviously a very experienced manager. He knows the game. He's the guy to come in and ruffle fellas at Arsenal and actually get them back to winning trophies like the WSL or the FA Cup. Can he take them further in the Champions League? So watch this space, we'll see.
Can he win the Conti Cup? That is what everyone is wondering about.
Well, that's what the girls in Arsenal will be thinking, won't they? They'll be in that changing room going, oh, can we do the treble? Conti Cup.
Right, back to the episode. How do they get that in place now? Like, honestly, when Jonas had got his extension and his new contract at the club, I was like, fair play, lovely.
I don't think it should have happened though. Based on what?
A Conti Cup win.
That's what I mean. So, but that, like, my other argument is you go back to like Arsenal and the salaries that these players are on. Like, they've got to do better too. So, it's a weird one. Like,
for a club as big as Arsenal, there's no way they can just sit on winning a Conti Cup. And I've made that, you know, I've said my opinion on that. They're too big a club to accept winning the Conti Cup back to back in the last 2 years. They're bigger than that. Their squad's bigger than that in terms of names that are at the club. They have to be achieving more. They have to be closer to Chelsea and Manchester City. And if anything, they're pulling further away from them.
Phil Neville, to be fair, was linked to it as well. What's your thoughts on that?
Again, I don't think so. I don't think he really done. I don't think he done much for the Lionesses. I get he's a experienced football player, but I don't think he's. You've worked with him, so what do you think?
I had a camp with him. I don't think he'd be the right person for the Arsenal job.
Any other names you want to throw out there?
I think for Phil, I think women and men's football is completely different. His management style, he hasn't done too well out in America, has he either? So I'm not too sure. Laura Harvey.
Okay.
Maybe she's been there, knows the league a little bit. Could she come back to England? I don't know. Casey's the one. Obviously, they've got Renee. I don't know. Is it Splash?
Slayers?
Yeah.
Slayers. Yeah.
She knows the club a little bit. Been there with Jonas now.
I just think too young. I don't want to put age on it, but I think just not experienced enough. Yeah, I don't think she's come out and said, I don't want it. She doesn't want it.
She's done a Carsley on us. Yeah.
Is that what he's saying? He's dead right.
You know what, the Lee Carsley job was already done. He was never going to get the senior job. I don't know. I think Casey. I don't know who's out there. I'm trying to.
Is there something going on behind the scenes at Arsenal?
I think.
Is there a reason why Casey Stoney is not involved? Is it someone with powers of above Arsenal that don't want her in? What is
it? Possibly. I mean, she's been at the club. She knows the club. She knows the people at the top. So do they not favour her? Do they see her as not the right person? Well, at the end of the day, they're going to give her the job.
That's what I don't understand. Why not? Like, I think she's one of the best young up-and-coming female. And if you want to kind of drive that kind of female exposure in coaching.
Also English,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
My thing more with her is that she knows the club.
Yeah.
And so when you already know the club, in terms of that settling process, is it
Maybe
a
that's
little
the
bit
issue,
easier?
Farah.
She knows it
She
too well.
knows the club
Yeah.
too well.
Maybe she doesn't want a job.
Maybe she doesn't want
We
it.
haven't even asked her.
Not even thought that. Maybe she
haven't.
doesn't. Yeah,
Case,
yeah.
do you want
Drop
a
a
job?
message.
No?
Somebody DM her
Yeah.
for us. The other name getting floated about as well is Tony Gustavin from Australia.
Again, I don't think this is my opinion. I know he probably had a style for Australia with the players that he had, but that style is not Arsenal style. If he could come in and change it, maybe, but I just don't think he's... Arsenal is a footballing club. It's pure football. That's what Arsenal are known for, and I don't think that's
Reckon they
his
could
style.
change that DNA? Because
Would you want
is
to?
it
It's
working
the
for them?
Arsenal way, isn't it? Well, it's not now, but...
But I'm saying it's the Arsenal way, but it hasn't got them success in recent years in terms of that possession-based team and kind of not really getting the results they need when needed. So is it a time for a little bit of change and give them that adaptability that they need in
I
order
could
to
say something right
compete?
now, but with some of the players that they've got in, that's not typical Arsenal players also.
Well,
So maybe, yeah.
All I know is North London forever.
you're a red, aren't you? An Arsenal red. You're an
I
Arsenal
do
red.
want Arsenal women to do well.
Why have you chosen them out of everyone?
Because, Farah, I remember staring at Boreham Wood 15 years ago. Me, one of 8 people in the rain. Right? I didn't hop on the bandwagon, okay? I've been there, so I do look and go, my God, now the game is this. Why are Arsenal this?
Yeah, it's true.
You know.
It's so true. Gosh. Have a sip and calm down.
Oh, gosh.
Look, she just don't want the Arsenal fans to get her, right?
There's
That's it. I know she is. She can't get.
she's
We're
smart,
okay.
right?
We're,
Yeah, that's all right.
We're getting it. It's fine. Just make sure that they like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, leave
Yeah.
a message, send us a hateful DM,
Yeah.
whatever it is you've got to do. Just get the views up. Farah, Ruesha, thank you very much. As ever, please like, please subscribe, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.